What is up, everybody? I'm
Hey,
limited on my
yo!
voice. I've been screaming at football over the weekend and at
Oh, like
practice.
crazy?
Yeah, it is crazy, crazy, crazy. And you know what? It's just like the NFL right now. Everything's crazy. The NFL has lost its mind.
Dude,
Injuries, no
wild.
predictability. It's all over. We are in week 4. Let's get started right now and see if we can figure this thing out. Let's roll. Welcome everybody to the 208.
Okay,
Did
man.
I surprise you? Did I surprise you a little
that
bit?
went hard. I love a brand
Surprise
new
a little
open.
So have a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
So, man, what a wild weekend. But what are your guys' thoughts, man? You guys do anything fun this weekend besides watch football and just scratch your head, or what?
Didn't do anything fun. We're just right in the middle of thrashing beans, but man, it was a good victory Monday for those Broncos, you know? Oh, I love that. A good W for the Broncos this weekend. Not all is lost.
There you go. That's nice.
Justin?
Monday night just felt like a missed opportunity. But, like, it was the first time in a long time I watched a Falcons game, and, like, even if we fell behind, I'm like, this is still a game. Like, we're still in this. It's, like, still competitive. I still think there's some things we got to work out on offense. But, like, I'm pretty excited for this Saints game. Like, I think we're going to put it on them.
I was a little surprised. Like Arthur Blank inducted himself in the Ring of Fame, which is cool. That's a shout out, good buddy Arthur Blank of my fiance's. But you'd think with as much money as he spent on that stadium, they could have evened the playing field and paid the rest a little more. You know, like I'm glad you got to see the absurdity. Like at some point, I'm so sorry. I will not be on this box long. At some point, the NFL's got to say, hey, literally everyone talks about how the Chiefs get away with crazy calls. You know,
Same call.
If that was Travis Kelce in the end zone getting absolutely molested by that guy, there would have been dirty
flags.
Laundry all over. 3 flags.
Yeah, there would have been
they
8
call
flags
both leagues. It
coming
was
from
really
the
weird. Same like Bengals, and then happened to us. Like it was weird. I don't know. In the moment I was like, oh, that's a good play, and then they showed it again. I was like, oh, jeez.
And we're going to talk about each one of these games today, right after we get into our waiver wire. I will tell you, big wins for me in fantasy football, but I'm telling you, the Bears are in trouble. My Bears are in big trouble. We'll talk about that as we go. But let's jump right into the news, guys, because there's lots to talk about in the NFL, especially with the injuries and whatnot. So here we go.
What's going on?
Chance, what do you got for us in the news world of that's going to impact our rosters?
A few big things, right? Just keep in mind that you're going to have a couple of guys coming off of waiver wires or coming off of IR here soon. So like TJ Hawkinson is a guy who's going to be eligible to return after next week. Jonathan Brooks is going to be eligible to return after next week. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to be eligible to return after next week. Those are really some of your bigger Lionberry's boy Kendre Miller is going to be able to return. So just a couple names to keep in mind. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire, if you're in a deep league and you want a waiver wire, you could take a shot at it. I have some thoughts on that Kansas City backfield that we can talk about. But I think if you have a spot, Hawkinson would be a great addition. I mean, the tight end landscape has been booty. It's been bad.
It's been rough.
Yeah.
Even Cole Kmet has looked pretty good this last week out of shaky Bears defense. So
Cole Kmet,
100%.
I think Cole Kmet's tight end 4 after one game.
Like pretty much like that. Yep.
He's 3. Yep.
He's 3. Okay. So just guys coming off of IR, I think one of the biggest things is CMC flew to Germany. He's going to see a specialist, which means they're going to put him in Das Boot. I love that. But I think
great movie.
From what I've heard, the Niners are probably eyeing a week 10 return at the earliest. They have a week 9 bye. So with this, with this injury, with the rehab time, if you can get through the bye with Jordan Mason and have him ready to go week 10, I think it probably looks pretty good for CMC. Let's see. Justin Herbert, he got hurt this weekend. Also one where they have a bye. They play the Chiefs and then they have a bye. You got to watch that because it's real easy for the team to look at it and say, hey, let's just give him 2 weeks. And if that's the case and they start Easton Stick, that's a rough game to avoid some of those players. A few other things.
Defense right there. Chief defense.
Trey McBride got banged up in the game. Trey McBride also, he's questionable. I think it was concussion related. So keep an eye on Trey McBride. He might be a big name that because of how cautious they are with concussion stuff. And then was there another concussion? I know that there were.
Devontae Smith got absolutely wrecked. Helmet came off, and so he's out concussion too. It looked pretty bad.
It was bad.
Mm-hmm.
So keep an eye on him.
And Jaylen Warren's getting an MRI on his knee. He had hurt this offseason. So Jaylen Warren, it kind of funny for the Pittsburgh backfield because Jaylen Warren getting an MRI on his knee, he's hurt. And then Najee Harris was seen in a sling on his arm after the game, but he's apparently fine. He doesn't carry an injury designation. He's practicing. Everything's good there. So a little news rundown. We're got to keep an eye on George Kittle and Deebo Samuel, Ken Walker, some of those guys, Joe Mixon, who we got to see their status.
And Jordan Love.
And Jordan
Don't
Love.
forget Jordan Love. That'll be a big one.
Easy to forget when he's just a system quarterback, like Malik Willis.
Yeah. Whew.
There it is.
Malik Willis look good, but anyway. Hey, you got your news, everybody. We're going to get going right into our ad drops. But hey, if you're here, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. And hey, we're here for you, right? If you have questions about week 4, maybe your lineup, ask a question. We get tired of talking to each other. We want to answer your questions. We want to know what your thoughts are. Man, this is a 100% engaged thing. So lock in, tune in with us. Let's have some fun. We're here for the next hour or so. We're covering lots of stuff, but let's do it. Let's get right into our waiver wire portion. A little bit of waiver wire, week 4. There's lots out there to talk about, lots of different players. This would be my group here. And I'm going to talk about a guy that's not on here that's on a lot of waiver wire shows and an outstanding game. But let's first talk about Braylon Allen. Braylon Allen's owned in less than 50% of leagues, and he is a guy that's getting increasingly more work each week. Now, if something were to happen with Breece, this isn't obvious. Everybody would be chasing him. So if you have Breece, get him as a backup. But he's also getting enough work where you could potentially put him in a flex and bye week. So go get him. He is absolutely worth a stash, and he looks good. He looks fast. He looks really good. Anybody want to add that? Either one of you? You like Braylon? It seems like a no-brainer. Seems like a lock.
Yeah, he has to be on just based on injury situation too.
Yeah, I mean, you just never know. It's always awesome to be able to handcuff a running back, and especially one that's already been involved. Like crazy to think that we have Aaron Rodgers, the oldest player in football, handing the ball off to Braylon Allen, the youngest player in football currently. Like that's kind of a fun,
it's crazy,
kind of a fun thing.
Andy Dalton, the red rifle,
baby.
Who played against our Kellen Moore back in Boise State days. We were there. They played against each other. So Andy Dalton's been around forever. Comes into the Panthers and just absolutely kills it, right? Just looks phenomenal, which he does. I am okay picking him up. I just want you, if you've got to really need him in a super flex, just be mindful. This is what happens all the time. We get a backup quarterback comes in because the QB1's not doing well, and they just look great, right? And then the number 2 just tanks, right? So I'm cautiously okay picking him up if you need him. He's a veteran. They've got good receivers. That offensive line's better. The Panthers have just been really bad. And I don't know. I mean, what are they going to do with the quarterback situation? We can talk about that real briefly.
Listen, I just want to chime in. We talked about adding Andy Dalton last week. Okay, we talked about it
because
his last start for the Panthers was an awesome start. He had like 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. He balled out. I think that if you are in need of a stream, to me, one, Dave Canales has done this with quarterbacks before, so we shouldn't be surprised that it's a system that veteran quarterbacks are able to adopt quickly, right? Everyone said he could be the quarterback whisperer with Bryce Young, but his forte is taking Geno, a veteran, Baker Mayfield, a veteran, Andy Dalton, a veteran, and putting them in a system that works. I think Andy Dalton is a great pickup and stream. Plus, revenge game. Oh my gosh, what a great revenge game narrative against Cincinnati coming up. And we all saw Cincinnati they do not have a competitive defense right now. I do not think they have a competitive defense.
Agreed. And Bryce Young, this is a good opportunity for him to just step back. If you have Bryce Young, it's okay to hold on to him. Let's see what happens. Let's give him a couple weeks, take a breath, and we'll go from there.
Do you think Bryce Young gets traded?
It's very possible. It's a little early for me, but I think it's possible.
I think their owner's too proud to admit this mistake, to be honest. That's just me. They had 4 trade offers. I think they should have traded him right then. I don't know if his value is going to go up that much higher. Like, it's pretty low right now. I would have traded him. I would have liked to see him get traded, but I don't know. It's a tough situation. I don't think he gets traded.
I don't know of any team that really wants him that bad right now. It doesn't fit Miami, right? That doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make sense for like a Rams trade, right? Those teams are kind of right now wins. I just don't see it just yet. So my third guy, this is really any Packers wide receiver because I think Love is coming back, right? So if you can get Doubs, if you can get Watson, if you can get Wicks, right? All those guys, I think go ahead and try to get them. Their value is going to increase for sure. And then my last one here is Kmet, which we talked about a little bit. Look, he's tied in 4-3-4 after 3 weeks. The Bears are kind of in some shambles and have to move the ball a little bit. And Kmet just seems to have found a way. These are the guys I like. You can pick them up and relatively cheap, in my opinion. So any concerns, worries about these guys, fellas?
I really like your Romeo Doubs ad here. I mean, it could be any of the Packers wide receivers. Reed again or Wicks or Christian Watson. But I think Doubs is super steady Eddie for Jordan Love, and he's going to be a great floor flex play.
Agreed. I like it. All right, moving on. This is Justin's group. Justin, you want to talk about Bucky? You're liking him. What are you hearing over there in Tampa Bay?
Just off the coach speak stuff. Like I follow Twitter. They have like a coach speak like barometer and like how often coaches lie and all that stuff. And like the Bucs head coach came out and said like, hey, he's earned more shares. Like he's earned more carries. It feels like he's starting to take over that role. He just looks like a different back compared to White, who I've absolutely hated since we started this season. And like Bucky looks like a dude, and like I feel like I'm right about one thing this whole season. It might be him. With Sam Darnold, like frick, man. Like I think Chance just messaging Hawkinson, and I was thinking about this on the drive home. It's like if Sam Darnold is doing this with just Justin Jefferson, like what is he gonna do with Hawkinson and Addison? Like what is he gonna do when he has 2 more weapons? Like Kevin O'Connell is a guy. Their defense looks really, really good as well. Like they are one of the biggest surprises this season. Like he looks rejuvenated. Like so much more confidence than what he had with the Jets and with the Panthers. Like super excited to see him play well. So he's been super fun to watch. Anything you guys have on those 2 guys?
I agree with you with Bucky. Sam Darnold. The best thing that happened with Sam Darnold, and this sounds horrible, was McCarthy getting injured. Mm-hmm. There's no pressure. He's the guy. There's nothing. If he has a bad game, there's no push. He can just go out and play. And it's been, wow. We thought the Vikings would be the very end of that division, and right now they're right at the top. So I like it.
Yeah, and I think people just forget that Sam Darnold he's young. He is a young quarterback. Let's see. Sam Darnold is 27 years old. I believe he is younger than Trevor Lawrence. Let me just vet that. I'd heard that him and Trevor. Oh no, Trevor's 24. Sam Darnold. There was another quarterback that had popped up that I'm like, I can't believe Sam Darnold is younger.
I think it's Bo Nix.
It could be Bo Nix. It very well could be Bo Nix.
It's not Bo Nix. Bo Nix is 24 years old.
I think it's Bo Nix.
Nah. Sam Darnold, only 26 years old. Okay, he's still pretty young. And I think he's just going to keep slinging it.
Yeah. Came into the NFL as a 20-year-old. Like, he was super young when he came in. Same with, like, Braylon Allen. Like, he was very young when he came in. And he's number 4 quarterback on the year right now. Number 4. Behind Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, and Josh Allen. Like, crazy to me. Next you got...
I just would say, I think Sam Darnold could be a league-winning quarterback for. I mean, I just think that this Kevin O'Connell offense is geared to score points, and Sam Darnold is the ultimate. Like he's what Shanahan wanted Brock Purdy to be, but with more experience. He's a game controller, and Kevin O'Connell can use him as such. Oh, thank you.
KP?
It was Joe Burrow.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
That's funny. So my next two guys, like when Mooney got signed with the Falcons, I was a little shocked at the money. Just like it seemed like a lot of money for him to come over and be the third or fourth option, but man, he has looked really, really good. It just seems like he's Kirk's guy. He loves to go to him. Drake London is starting to, I feel like, blossom into that one. He's had 2 touchdowns the last 2 games. He's getting a lot of targets. He gets those tough yards. I wish they would have went to him in that last play instead of Kyle Pitts. But, I mean, that's just the way that things go. Mooney's been really, really good. I just feel like he gets all the crossers. He does a lot of veteran moves in the middle of the field. And he's just consistent, man. He just catches the ball really well. And then I think Gesicki's still a guy. He didn't have the game that I thought he would have, but I still really believe Gesicki should be rostered in all formats.
Agreed. So those are our 2. Chance, I know you didn't get us your picks. Is there 1 or 2 guys that is not on the list that you believe need to be added before I run over these other guys? So
I just want to. I think that Emmanuel Wilson is worth a conversation, right? We've spoken about Emmanuel Wilson a little bit. He split that backfield with Josh Jacobs this last week, and I have a hard time imagining that's how it's going to be moving forward. But he had 41% of snaps in that backfield. He is explosive. He, as an undrafted free agent, he got some juice. And I think until Marshawn Lloyd comes back, he could push Josh Jacobs a little bit. You know, like he was pretty good at a receiving touchdown.
I love the pick on that, Chance. Mm-hmm. I love that pick. Here's why. Because I don't think, not necessarily him pushing for touches. I think it's strategic. I believe the Packers are like, we really don't want Josh Jacobs to have 28, 32 carries a game. We want to split that backfield because we want a little more longevity out of Josh Jacobs where we can, especially if we're going to make a playoff run. So let's give this little, I don't want to say little, but let's give this explosive back some opportunity to run. And he looks really good. When he's running the ball, he looks like a little cannon, right? Just boom, explosive. So I really like that pick. If you have Josh Jacobs, what a great backup pick, or for some trade bait later or something. But I like it. That's a great one. That's a great one.
I just got 2 more guys that I think deserve a shout out. And I'm so amazed that you guys didn't, this name wasn't the first in our group chat. But can we talk about wide receiver 1 on the week, Jawan Jennings?
Yeah. I was going to save that one.
I
was going to save that one, but let's do it. Let's bring it up right now because there's a reason why he is not on my list. But go ahead.
I think that Jawan Jennings is worth a pickup. I think Debo's injury is going to last for at least another couple weeks. George Kittle was a late addition to the injury. So to me, that says, I don't know if you can expect him to be so ready. And Brock Purdy just loved throwing the ball to Jawan Jennings. Jawan Jennings did everything he was asked to do. And I think that at least for the next couple of weeks, I think you're going to get ones that are going to cover Ayuk, and Jawan Jennings is going to continue to be a flex option.
Yep.
So
I'm going to let my league mates draft Jennings.
Okay.
You guys that. You guys burn the fab. You guys burn the first overall pick on Jennings.
That would be me. I would be burning that. Yep. My last guy that I do think is worth a conversation, and I brought him up last week as a sneaky flyer guy. And if you paid attention, you were smart enough to pick up Tutu Atwell. He's Matt Stafford's go-to receiver for the Rams right now. He has stepped into that one position, right? He played 74% of snaps. He had 5 targets, it was only 93 yards, but he was Matt Stafford's first read. And I know Kyron saw an uptick in, his production because they were hurt, but I think Tutu Atwell is worth an ad.
Yep, I can see that. I can see that. Juwan Jennings, I'm going to circle back to that one because I know he's your guy, but I'm like, to me, he's one of those guys like, wow, that is his absolute 100% ceiling. I don't,
For sure.
Ayuk will certainly get more and more and more as he gets more acclimated. You got to remember that as much as we didn't like Ayuk coming out because he held out. So he's probably in his third preseason game where he's actually playing. He's a better receiver than Jennings. He's more elite. Can he? I just think he's going to be the guy later, but you got to give him some. Now I'm okay if you want to take Jennings. I'm saying no. I'm not saying no. You shouldn't. I'm just saying be cautious. If he has another good week, look to sell him right away. Somebody will buy him. Go to the Purdy owner and see if you can find something to swap him out with. I'm just like, I'm cautious about it. Not saying you're wrong, but just be cautious. Two guys that I want to bring up real quick. So Chase Brown, we were high on him.
Back
you
on this trade.
So the one thing I was like, if he didn't produce anything at all, then I was like, wow, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and cut him. And it's an interesting take here. Let me pull it up. But Chase Brown actually got more carries, or is more productive than Zach Moss. So he was 7 for 62. Moss was 12 for 58, and of course Moss had the touchdown. So if he's available on waiver wires, I think he's still worth an add. If he's on your team, hold. But what are your guys' thoughts? Yay, nay?
Justin, you got this one?
Yeah, it's just been a weird backfield. Even the touches, like, yeah, Chase Brown did well. Like, he had 7 for 62, and also he had 2 for 7 catching wise. But Zach Moss still had 12 carries, and he had 5 catches. Like, this backfield's just weird. I don't understand it. I don't know what the Bengals are doing. It stresses me out. Like, Jamar Chase won me a game last night. I think Gesicki's still a dude. T. Higgins looks somewhat all right, but man, this backfield's rough, and they just lost their left tackle. So,
all I'd say is, watching the game last night, I was reminded why I was high on Chase Brown this offseason. Like, the dude has juice.
He does.
He's fast, he's explosive, he's got juice. I like that as a deep pickup because you just never know.
Agreed. One guy that we haven't talked about, and this is our last kind of waiver wire ad-ish if he's out there, but I do want to talk about Justin Fields a little bit.
Oh yeah,
he's probably not on the waivers, but he could be if somebody dropped him. I think he's like, look, he is now the starter for Steelers. The Steelers are 3-0, which we're going to talk about, which we're head shaking. Do you believe in him to start him? Do you believe him to have him on your team? Are you guys okay having him, or are you like, nah, I don't want any business of it because it's only one game away before, like, yep, there it is. What are your thoughts? Justin, I see you shaking your head.
I mean, with the quarterback play, like, I have Trevor Lawrence in the league, and I'm just like, yeah, this ain't it. I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I'm not. At least Justin Fields give me some upside, like, with some running, and, like, it feels like he's starting to get a little bit of confidence. Like, that rope that he threw to Calvin Austin, like, that was a rope. That was a really good ball. Like, maybe he's starting to get that confidence back a little bit. So I'm going to get on that train before it leaves me in the dust.
Chance?
Yeah, I would agree. The nice thing about Justin Fields is he is playing well and still hasn't had that Justin Fields game where he explodes, uses his legs, and has an awesome day for fantasy. And I think that now that he's been, like, truly, I don't know why the Dolphins aren't going to get Russell Wilson. You know what I mean? Like,
that is a rumor right now.
We did talk about that.
Russell Wilson and Zach Wilson right now are the rumor.
That's what I've heard. But I think that now that Fields is starting to feel comfortable as the 3-0, the quarterback of the 3-0 undefeated Steelers, I think he might start to open up his game a little bit. I think Tomlin will let him open up his game a little bit, and we can start getting some of those fantasy production games that we've been wanting so desperately to get out of Justin Fields.
Yep, agreed. So Fields very interesting. Moving on to our drops. I think this one's pretty easy. Justin already talked about it. Trevor Lawrence. Really, any of the wide receivers for the Jags, other than maybe Kirk, is what Justin had told me. Tajay Spears, who I had high hopes for, you could let him go. Ezekiel Elliott, it's another one that we told you last week you could drop. So, Chance, anybody to add on your drops? We didn't get to you today, but anyone you're like, yeah, go ahead and cut them loose.
You know, it was just funny that Lineberry texted to our group. all the Jags wide receivers, because
I
it's
said
like
except for Kirk. Except
for Kirk. I feel like you could honestly say the same thing about the Chargers wide receivers. Like I have a hard time, especially if you need a spot. I don't think Quentin Johnson, if he doesn't have Herbert this week and they have a bye next week, you got 2 weeks where those wide receivers are going to be mostly useless. I think they're an easy drop to me. Is you could easily drop one of those guys. Yeah. And if somebody in your league has been foolish enough to drop like Deontay Johnson, drop Jags wide receivers or Chargers wide receivers and go get a couple of those wide receiver ones that have quarterbacks coming up.
This is a tough question. I just saw in chat. Holy crap.
Yeah, this is tough. Let me pull this up for sure. James, do we cut Mark Andrews for either Conklin or Kmet? That is.
He's played so bad.
I'm a no on that. I'm
a no too.
I think you hold Andrews because he has proven to be like he has a role in that offense. And just because the Ravens haven't found it, the Ravens have also played some weird games. And I don't know if Kmet, I don't think he's just fallen off of a cliff. I think maybe that injury he got in early in the season is lingering, or the car accident. Maybe some of that's lingering. But to me, I dropped Cole Kmet in a dynasty league. Lineberry picked him up, scooped him up, and didn't play him. And he went off on his bench. But I dropped Cole Kmet because to me, Cole Kmet feels like just a dude, like a lot of these other guys. Mark Andrews isn't just a dude to me. Mark Andrews still has tight end 1 upside. So I don't know. It kind of depends. If you're 0-3, you might need a spark or try to trade him.
I don't drop him. Like his snaps were laid down 33%. I'm pretty sure he ran 4 routes. Like it was just a concerning day, and the Ravens scored 38 points. Like you would think he'd at least be a part of that. Something must be wrong. Maybe he does something against Buffalo. I don't know. Buffalo's defense looks good. It's a tough situation.
Yeah, James, I don't think so. I agree with the group. Although I don't mind if you can drop somebody to pick up Conklin or Kmet, have them on your roster. That's fine, right? If it's somebody's like, yeah, I can drop somebody, but don't. If you're wanting to get rid of Andrews, trade him. Don't cut him. Try to get something for him that way. Don't leave him for somebody else. But that's a great question. Great question.
I would just say, James, if you were going to cut him in our league, 100% cut him. I would cut him if you have it in the league that I play you in.
For sure. That is our waiver wire for sure. Man, but so we're gonna spend a little time, but we got the next 35 minutes or so. We want to kind of review last week games. We've been very clear. You gotta wait till week 4. Wait till week 4 on all your setup. I don't care who it is. We are not the end all be all know all. There is no fantasy football channel that is 100% accurate right now. It's you're hoping for 60% correct, right? There is no rhyme or reason what's going on in the NFL. Any statistical data doesn't even make sense right now. If you go and look through it, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't see that coming. So there's been tons of injuries. This is very typical for fantasy football, so you just have to understand that. So I thought it would be fun. Let's go through and we'll start off with Thursday's game, and we'll just kind of review Patriots-Jets, what we thought, any key takeaways out of that game. And Justin, let's start with you. Anything to take away from the 27-3 Jets spanking of the Pats?
I just love that Chance said his take last week about Drake May, because I mean Mayo came out and said it's probably going to happen rather sooner than later. Like if you're in a very deep league, a super flex, like even dynasty, but he should not be on the waivers in dynasty. Like Drake May should be a guy. Ramondre Stevenson crapped his pants. I don't know why. He's been the touch leader in the NFL. There's some of my leagues he's on the waiver, and I'm gonna spend a lot of fab on him because I'm gonna go where the touches are at. Demario Douglas had a great game. Aaron Rodgers looks somewhat like himself. It was nice to see them kind of force the ball to Wilson. I mean, those are kind of minor takeaways. But Patriots-wise, it's hard to start in those wide receivers.
Chance, anything different?
Yeah, I mean, I think New England, I hope they rebound. I don't know if it's going to be Drake May moving forward. I haven't heard any of that. But good and bad, I think that and again, I say this, and we say this about good defenses, but Garrett Wilson had a good week last week. Garrett Wilson is going to disappear this next week. I mean, he's gonna draw Pat Surtain. So if Allen Lazard is going to have himself another game, it might be this next week. But like, I think the Jets are good and they have a good defense. I just don't know exactly what to think of their offense yet.
Yep. Good catch on that. I was going to bring up the Jets defense. They look like they came through. I do want to bring up the Braylon Allen Hall splits. So Braylon on 11 carries, Breece Hall 16. That could be just game. As the game went on, Jets just dominated this, so they didn't really need to give Breece the ball as much, so they kind of split it. But it is noted that Braylon Allen's carries have increased from week to week. So good call out on Garrett Wilson. He did lead the way with 9 targets. They're definitely trying to get him the ball. And Aaron Rodgers did say, if me and number 5 get on the same page, watch out. So I thought that was relatively fun. Moving forward, Bears Colts. I just want to shake my head. I guess I'll own this. Let me start on this. I really thought if Swift was going to have a game, this would be the game. If Swift just was garbage, you can cut him, trade him, do whatever you want with him. 13 carries for 20 yards. He's averaging like 2.3 or 2.4 on the season. He's terrible. They have no run game.
Would you cut Swift? Would you cut him?
Yes, I would cut him.
You would. Wow.
I would cut him. There is no easier run defense in the NFL than the Colts, and they could not do anything with it. The OC just needs to go already. I'm telling you, I'm not even going to say his name because it's just bad juju, but he needs to go. He need already. It's already. So I'm done with him. Caleb had a decent game, 363 yards, 2 TDs, 2 interceptions. But again, he looked like he was from USC, scrambling for his life, making throws. He did catch a Dunze for 6 of those for 212. I just, it's hard for you to trust the Bears because you just don't know what they are. So that's my rant on the Bears. Their defense is still pretty decent, but they're relying on their defense. And you got to go from there. As far as the Colts, Anthony Richardson we just don't know. He's going to be week to week. It's going to be tough. I shake my head. I like
worst pick I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. I'm like, listen, frustrated by him.
This game was the Matt Osen take an L game.
Yeah, 100%. This was it. This was 100%. All of it.
Because
oh my god,
this way? No, it's this one.
And you've been on the Anthony Richardson train. You were on it all summer, and I think there was obviously some serious optimism about Anthony Richardson and his talents and his abilities, but he still just looks like a rookie quarterback making rookie mistakes.
Yeah, young pup.
Looks like Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. As far as the 2 guys that I wouldn't mind having, so Jonathan Taylor's a dude, right? He's a stud. 23 carries, $110, 2 TDs.
I think they're going to run that offense through him with Anthony Richardson struggling.
As they should.
Josh Downs looked pretty decent coming back. He had 5 targets for 3 carries, 22 yards. If Downs is out there, go get him for sure. I think they'll find ways to get Downs the ball. So I will take the L on the Bears and the Colts quarterback for sure. And we're going to move on because I don't want to talk anymore about it.
Oh.
We do have a question. We do have a question here from KP again. Dante Johnson over Hopkins and Lockett this week.
I would say yes. I think I was encouraged to see Hopkins do well. It looks like he's recovering from his injury. But again, I struggle to think Lockett's still the number 3 in that passing attack for Seattle. Deontay with a competent quarterback. Their coach has been saying all offseason that they want Deontay Johnson to be the guy. And he looked like a guy. He looked like a dude out there for the Panthers. He really did. So I'd 100% start Deontay Johnson over Hopkins and Lockett both.
Yep, I agree. Keep rolling the hot hand.
I mean, with those 3, Deontay Johnson's getting the most snap percentages, which is what you like to see. It seems like Tyler Lockett is getting pushed a little bit out of the offense, just a tiny bit, and then Hopkins Tennessee's where wide receivers go to, that's where they go to die. So I'm not a big fan of Hopkins, anyways.
Yeah, I think we were all out on Hopkins before the season started. So.
Yep.
Moving on to Green Bay versus the Titans. Green Bay putting up 30 on the Titans, and the Titans going 0-3 now with 14. Will Levis, 2 TDs, 2 interceptions. They did nothing on the ground. Pollard 6 carries for 14 yards, and Green Bay is just looking good. Next man up. is really what it does. Malik Willis looks really good with a bunch of really no-name guys, right? He's just they're making it work. Excellent coaching job on their end. Malik Willis, if he plays this next week, are you starting him?
Let's see, who do they play? I'm looking at last week's game. So who do they play this week?
Vikings.
We got it. Yeah, the Vikings. Yeah.
No, I don't start him against the Vikings.
Yeah, the Vikings look good.
Yeah, they
on
look
defense,
good.
especially. Man,
running backs.
This Titans offense, man, I just like. It just sucks because you expect Will Levis to do like a boneheaded move a game. I feel like he's gonna get benched or something because it just feels like Callahan does not like him. Like it seems like he rips him a new one every game, but I don't know. Really disappointing game by Calvin Ridley. Like I expected more out of him. That's always a tough one.
But. Chance, you want to talk a little bit about? We kind of brought it up earlier, but Josh Jacobs and Malik Willis, they nearly had identical carries, 12 to 14, and actually Emmanuel Wilson was a little bit more productive, 4.2 to 3.1. But what do you see going forward? Do you think it'll be a true split, or do you think that was just kind of like, hey, we're up a lot and let's just get him some carries?
I really don't think it's going to be a true split. I think that Josh Jacobs has looked good. He's looked good in his offense, and I think that once they're able to kind of get Jordan Love back in there and the passing game can be a legitimate threat, like I feel like with Malik Willis, they just said, hey, we can kind of just crowd the box and make him beat us. And when they do that, instead of taking your bright new shiny toy and just running it against a wall over and over again, why not spell him a little bit with Emmanuel Wilson? And I think that's what they did. Emmanuel Wilson broke a long run. He had an awesome receiving touchdown. So that's my biggest takeaway. It does not scare me as a Josh Jacob owner in the least. But I also will see what they do next week. It won't matter because to me the Vikings run D is so stout that I think both of these backs are going to struggle a little bit next week.
Yep, it's very possible. Justin, so if Jordan Love comes back this next week, Christian Watson, Jalen Reed, Dobbs, and we talked about Wicks a little bit, and even Musgrave and Kraft, all see an uptick against this Vikings defense?
I don't know. I think it's going to be a rough week no matter what. This Vikings defense has been just playing really, really well. I think, if anything, they'll probably try to rely on the run game a little bit. It'll be hard to do a lot of play action stuff with Jordan Reed coming off the knee as well. So I wouldn't expect an uptick, no. I probably wouldn't start Jordan Love this week against the Vikings.
Fair enough. And I think we are all expecting him to come back as well. So next up, Vikings-Texans. Wow, what a surprise this game was. I think we were all shocked. The Vikings going 3-0, just again against a post-playoff team last year in Texans. Stroud looked a little bit suspect. Darnold throws 4 TDs. Takeaways from this game, again, 34-7.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say I think Aaron Jones still has some juice, and I think it's the Ty Chandler. Like last week, Ty Chandler kind of spelled Aaron Jones, and everyone said, "Oh, is Ty Chandler going to be the guy?" That's what I think happened this last week with Emmanuel Wilson and Josh Jacobs. Like that's kind of the same thing I see happening with the Packers. Aaron Jones, he had the juice. My biggest concern is, what do we do with Tank Dell? Is he, 6 targets, but, he kind of got banged up. He had a rib injury and a wrist injury, but guys, talk me off the edge here. What do we do with Tank Dell?
It just feels like he's the forgotten man. It's tough. This team looked the one takeaway I'll say from this game, the Tank Dell stuff, I don't know, I really don't want Stephon Diggs to take Tank Dell's role, but I just want to see what this Vikings offense is with Hawkinson and Addison. I'm super excited.
Yeah. I'll back up for you, Chance, a little bit. So this game to me feels like, okay, we have to find ways to get Tank Dell the ball. We have to find more weapons. You just lost 34-7. So defensively, we couldn't stop the Vikings, who on a Sam Darnold who had 4 TDs. But we can't win games just scoring 7 points. That's not a thing. We've got to find opportunities. Now Mixon was out, So the run game took a hit, right? Cam Akers, 9 carries, 21 yards. He ain't it, right? Not a thing. So we're going to have to manufacture touches for Dell. You can't. They showed it last year. You cannot win with just the 2 wide receivers they had. They had Nico and Dell last year, right? And they needed a third option. So they go out and get Diggs, who ends up being apparently looks like the wide receiver 1, 2 / but they're going to have to find ways to get Dell the ball if they're going to win, if they're going to compete later. That's my take on it.
And I would say, there's ain't no better remedy for a bad week than playing the Jags the next week. So,
Go for sure, which we'll get.
Take Dell. He'll be in my lineup, baby.
Yep, me too. And yeah, I'm trying not to make. It's like, well, that's I want him to do good because he's in my lineup. That's not what I'm saying. They really need to find manufacturing some touches. And Justin, you're 100% right. These Vikings, you have Justin Jefferson that does Justin Jefferson things. I think all 3 of us could be a quarterback and hit Justin Jefferson. That's not a big deal. But to hit Jalen Naylor and Johnny Munt. These guys are not even guys. They're NFL players. We get that. They're good ball players, but they're not guys that they're going to get Hawkinson back and get. You just said his name. Sorry,
Addison. 1,000-yard receiver,
Addison.
Man. Crazy.
So what happens when he gets those guys back? My goodness, watch out.
No, this team is scary.
Moving up, kind of the next game a little bit. We'll hit it. Eagles Saints. What an amazing game. Barkley is him. Chance, let you go ahead and talk on Barkley.
Barkley. Barkley. I think if you were to go back and redo the draft, I think Barkley is an easy 101 pick. I think you'd have to talk a lot to convince me to not take Barkley 101 if we could redo the draft, knowing how these first 3 weeks went. And he's good in the backfield. He's good catching the ball. He took ownership of missing that pass last week, and he just said, I'm going to put the team on my back, And Jalen Hurts has looked okay, but he doesn't have to do everything because Saquon can just take over a game like he did.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed. Goddard looked pretty good, and a lot of that had to do because Devontae Smith got injured. Goddard with 10 receptions on 11 targets for 170. That's nuts. So that's nice to see him. Justin, I'm gonna let you talk about your favorite team, the Saints, and then coming back down to earth.
No!
They definitely came back down to earth for sure. And I was really trying to get Olave all last week from him. I had multiple trades for Olave. He's just gonna bounce back.
I'll say this about the Saints. It felt like Jalen Hurts was making so many mistakes. I'm like, is he bad? Is he a bad football player? His stats don't tell the whole story if you watch the game. But it felt like the Steelers were not the Steelers. The Saints were just coasting. They're like, when are these DBs gonna mess up and we're gonna get 4 or 5 huge plays? And it just never happened. The only reason they won that game is because Saquon took that. I think that one was 70 yards. That was crazy. And he's the only reason they won that game. Derek Carr was 14 of 25 for 142 yards. I don't know. Again, they'll play the Falcons this week. It'll give us more information. I don't know if the Saints are good. I don't know if the Eagles are good. I don't know who's good. I know the Vikings are good. That's about it. I don't know.
Chargers, Steelers beating up on the Chargers. We kind of talked about this already with Najee Harris getting dinged up a little bit and Justin Fields carrying their team to 3-0. It's going to be the starter moving forward until further notice. I don't know. I don't know. I think you kind of just have to have him. I don't know. Chance, your thoughts on the Steelers?
I think the Steelers are so happy to say we're the number 1 defense in the league right now, and we're just going to win games in low-scoring affairs and be okay with it. Now, that being said, I think this was a hard-nosed game of 2 coaches who want to run the same kind of game plan, and they did. I was a little bummed that it was Austin. It was the Austin receiver over George Pickens.
Yeah. Calvin Austin.
It is what it is. And I see a down game next week for Pickens as well, because the Steelers are going to play the worst run defense in the league. I think maybe the second worst in the Colts. And so Najee Harris should be fired up. I think if you're going to have a Jordan or a Justin Fields game like we want him to have, I think next week's going to be a really thinking about him playing the Colts. I think Justin Fields is a great pickup.
Yep.
But I just feel like do we need to have the same conversation about Justin Herbert as we're having about Trevor Lawrence?
That was my next go. Herbert just looks rough right now.
I don't want to.
He doesn't stay.
I don't want to.
He doesn't stay healthy. Like, he can't stay healthy. He's injured every season, and he's not being the stud that we thought he was going to be after his first couple of seasons.
Yep. I think just keep an eye on him, kind of see how the things develop for sure. I want to jump into the next chance. Your Broncos surprising everybody with the win over the Buccaneers, and Bo Nix getting a lot of praise out of that. Out of that camp. Doesn't throw a pick or a touchdown, but has 216 yards. But give us your breakdown on this team.
I'll just say this. It's real easy to think a team is really bad when a rookie quarterback loses to the number 1 overall defense and the number 4 overall defense to start the season. It's backwards because the Seahawks, and again, we don't know a lot about football 3 weeks in, but I will tell you the Broncos' 2 losses in close games where they were in it were to a 3-0 Seahawks team that has the 4th best defense DVOA and a Steelers team that has the 1st best defense DVOA. So I think it was good for the Broncos. I think that their defense is surprisingly good. I mean, they shut down Evans with Surtain, and then Riley Moss was the highest graded corner in the league this last week with a 91.1 coverage rating via PFF. Like, they have good corners. They got 6 sacks. Like, their defense is legit. I think they are a really good defense. And if Bo Nix can keep surprising, I thought it killed me, because if Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels had a great game, obviously he outshone Bo Nix. But if Bo Nix or if Caleb Williams or one of those other rookies had a run like Bo Nix had in that game where he ducked the pressure, ran through the pocket, had like a 40 yard scamper. If it had been anyone but Bo Nix on the really bad Broncos, people would be like, "Oh my gosh, look at this guy," But
if you've watched Bo Nix before, he's that Houdini. He did that in college. He was sneaky good of extending plays. He really was.
The
guys that I want to ask you about. Go ahead.
He's not sneaky fast. He runs 20 miles an hour. Like, that's the crazy thing people feel. He's a fast human being.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The guy that I want to ask you about, Chance, and it's in the backfield. We talked to Javonte Williams up. We talked to Jaleel McLaughlin. But this Tyler Bidet, what is this guy? This is your classic Sean Payton hot hand, and he looks good.
And listen, it was up until this weekend, I have only known him as Tyler Beatty, right? He's come out. He was great.
I like Bidet better.
Yeah, me too. He was a great back out of Missouri. He had a run with the Ravens for a little bit. Like, the dude's got some juice. He's not overly big, but to me, I think he's going to bring some real juice into this. I would keep an eye out on Beatty and maybe Blake Watson again, because to me, the only reason I didn't have Javonte as my drop candidate sucks that it's there. You got to give him one more week. If he sucks next week, absolutely, he is the hottest drop in the NFL, and he has not looked good. His yards per carry has continued to go down. He puts the ball on the ground. I don't know, but once the Broncos figure out that run game, I think that they are going to be a much, much better team.
Yeah. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm telling you, Javonte Williams on the eye test does not look good.
No,
he just doesn't look good. So, moving over to Bucky Irvin. We all believe Bucky Irvin's going to take over that Rachaad White.
Let's go.
That game. Godwin and Evans did okay. Godwin led the way in that game, but and Evans held the 2 catches for 17 yards. And you're right, that defense is tough.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Moving on to real briefly, just the Panthers Raiders. Oh boy, this game was a disaster for the Raiders.
Oh my god,
just an absolute disaster. Andy Dalton, 319 yards, 3 TDs, all over that Raider defense. Hubbard, 21 carries, 114 yards, which is sneaky, by the way, because I don't hear a lot of people talking about Chuba Hubbard in this game, which is pretty crazy. And obviously with the gentleman we talked about, Devontae Johnson, with 122 yards and 1 touchdown. Andy Dalton finding him all over the place. I will tell you, and to me, continue to ride Deontay Johnson. We talked about that earlier. Zamir White's the one I want to talk about. Zamir
geez.
White is
Here
in
we
my
go.
opinion in trouble. Do you guys? And I will take another L on this one, but Zamir White's in trouble for two reasons. He just doesn't look good when he's running the ball. He was a bigger back, put on some weight, and now the game script moving forward. He is not a pass catcher. They're going to be behind in games. He's just not going to get the ball. You just can't start him. You might have to try to trade him as far as a package, but this Zamir White, Zeus as we like to call him, is in big trouble. Do you guys agree? Disagree?
I agree.
No, I agree, and I think that he is again near droppable. You know, if you weren't going to do it against Carolina, who are you going to do it against? You know what I mean? Like, if you can't get that done here, I think we're going to be in big trouble. Like, I think he's going to be in big trouble as a running back.
Agreed. Dolphins, Seahawks all over this one. Dolphins look abysmal for sure. We are. I'm going to pause this. Scott just put in a question here. This is a great question. Are the Raiders relying on Minshew to throw too much? I think that's all they can do. And
that's just the game script. Like they'll get like that's just how the game went. They got behind. The Raiders scored 15 points in the fourth quarter. Like that's the only reason this score looks somewhat competitive. Like they had 7 points. It was 36-7, and then they scored 15 points. Like they had to throw it 28 times.
Yep, and Minshew's better than O'Donnell. He just is. They're going to roll with Minshew. Minshew's the guy. So that's a great question, though, Scott. Appreciate the question.
I thought
they don't have any other choice.
I thought I'd seen somewhere that the Raiders coach isn't ruling out a quarterback change this week. Did you guys see that?
I did hear that, but then I did see. Oh my gosh, I can't think of his name. D-end. Their D-end.
Crosby.
Crosby was like, "No, Minshew's our guy." Mm-hmm. He came out and was like, "No, Minshew's our guy. He's our quarterback." So, but you never know. They're looking for a change as well. So, I do want to run over to Dolphins, Seahawks. Dolphins in big trouble. They scored 3. Seahawks 24. Charbonnet 2 TDs in this game. Geno Smith for 289 yards. Metcalf 104. I think he had like a 70 yard touchdown catch or something like that.
Beautiful.
71. So that's kind of what we talked about with Metcalf. But I'm not so much worried about Seattle, and Walker will be coming back potentially this next week. They look decent. They look good. But Miami is in trouble. We talked about it. The only person is Hill's not any, without Tua, Thompson and Boyle. I don't know what they're going to do at quarterback. And they play Monday night, and there's some, they got 48 hours to kind of figure out this quarterback situation. There's lots of speculation. Justin, let me start with you on Miami.
I think the thing that me and Matt talked about before we got on was Jalen Waddle. What do you do with him? Like, he needs to like Tyreek can somewhat manage. Like he is still a start every week, but at this rate, I don't even know if you can start Jalen Waddle in your flex. I think that's the biggest impact on this whole fantasy offense. Like they all took a downtick, but I think Waddle takes the biggest hit in this whole offense.
Yep. I agree. The only upside I see. Oh, go ahead, Chance.
Well,
give you a shot.
Tell me your upside, and let's see if we argue this out.
The only upside, the only startable person for me is A-Chain.
See, and that's where I'm going to fight you. I'll fight you on that. I think A-Chain is going to continue to be in trouble. I think A-Chain. I feel like we thought after that the second week game that it's like, oh, A-Chain can really handle this load. Mostert's out. Mostert's going to be coming back, and I just don't think A-Chain. Again, being a smaller back, I think if the Dolphins do not have the threat of Tua and their downfield offense, people are going to do the same thing. They're going to stack the box. They're going to provide a brick. But to me, I'm worried of A-Chain. To me, A-Chain is also a big loser in this. But tell me why he's not to you.
The reason why is because he's not just going to be a back. They're going to get him touches in the passing game. If it were strictly handoff, I agree. But no, they're going to manufacture him just quick dump passes, swings, that type of stuff. Jalen Wright's another guy that maybe, he's just a super deep stash. But to me, A-Chain is their offense where that's it. We're going to dink and dunk. Maybe we can get Hill on a deep ball, right? Hill had only 5 targets, 3 catches, 40 yards. A-Chain 11 carries, 30 yards. You're right, Chance, that's spot on. But A-Chain also had 3 catches for 28. So this game script was nasty. It's not those players, it's the quarterback. if they go and get like a Tannehill or something, or find somebody that's halfway decent, but they're in trouble. If they don't get a quarterback, I don't want any of them. I want 0 shares of any of them.
Yeah.
It's like, because it's rough. It's rough. Like I said, we already kind of talked on Seattle. Moving on to this one. What a game. Ravens, Cowboys. One of these teams was either going to be, I mean, both these teams are 1-2 now, right? It was possible if if Dallas won, not Denver, Dallas won, the Ravens go 0-3, which we would never even talked about in the preseason, which is crazy. So both these teams 1-2, who are both playoff bound teams, which is pretty wild. But let's start with Baltimore. Derrick Henry just owned Dallas, just absolutely owned them. 151 yards, 2 TDs. They fed him the ball 25 times. I saw a stat is if Derrick Henry can get the ball over 20 times in a game, his just production goes sky high. If he gets less than 20, it's way less.
Yeah.
So it's like, interesting. Passing wasn't a big deal for them, but Derrick Henry looked good, kind of just snubbed their nose at Dallas because that's where he wanted to go. And Jerry Jones said, well, we couldn't afford him, so that's why we didn't call him. The Dallas Cowboys for sure. Dak Prescott, 2 TDs, 379 yards, no running whatsoever. This is all coming through production through Dak. Dowdle, 8 carries for 32 yards. We already told you to drop Zeke. Ferguson, it was nice to get Ferguson back, 6 carries, 95 yards. And Lamb, Lamb was 4 for 67. So he spread it all over the place. He targeted Jake Ferguson, the team high 11 times. Any takeaways from this game you guys worried about?
I'll be honest, this is a game that I don't like either of these teams. I don't have a lot of these these players in fantasy. I didn't even watch the game. I couldn't even tell you what happened in it.
Okay, nice chance.
Yeah, that's perfect. There you
go. That's my analysis.
I really like Dak going forward. If they're gonna have to throw the ball a ton. He threw it 51 times, and I think they're just gonna be like, Dak, you gotta take us, you gotta carry us, and I think that bodes well for Ferguson. CD, the big ownership guys. I think you're okay with right now. That Dallas defense is rough, so I mean that just means more shootouts. I mean, obviously, I love to I love to watch good defense, but man, the Cowboys just don't seem it. They seem like they have a lot of guys that are missing a lot of efforts. So yeah.
So I do want to kind of go back up to, I think it was James's comment. So it's probably worth talking about Likely and Mark Andrews here. So both of them were only targeted once, but total game script, right? They ran the ball. I mean, Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry ran like 39 times combined, and they couldn't stop him. So no need to throw the ball. I think Likely is a guy you might be able to drop. Now, gosh, we thought maybe they'd run a 2 tight end set and kind of dink and dunk, but in this game, not much you can do about it. So just kind of a nice to know. I do want to, let's get a couple of we had a couple of questions. So Steve MC, good to see you, Steve. I'm glad you're hanging out with us. Good listen, fellas. Cheers. Would you guys drop Rico Dowdle for Braylon Allen? Or I'll give you Justin. Go ahead.
Yep, I would. I think the Jets offense is better. I think the Cowboys are going to play a lot of hot hand situation where maybe this guy's doing good this time, and I don't think they're going to run the ball that well. So I think I would bet on the upside of Braylon.
Chance?
I don't know, man. With Zeke getting phased out, I have a hard. I mean, it's that question: do I take the RB2 on a good offense, or do I take the RB1 on? And I wouldn't say the Cowboys are a bad offense. To me, I think Rico Dowdle. It's Rico. I mean, Matt, we might need you to break this tie for us because to me, I think that the Cowboys are going to have more opportunity in the red zone than the Jets are because I haven't bought into the Jets yet. We're not 4 weeks in enough for me to determine whether or not they're legit. So what do you think, Matt? Are you team Rico or team Allen?
Depends on if you're going to go volume or if you're going to go efficiency. Dowdle is probably going to get more of the work, assuming it gets phased out. But I also think that that Braylon Allen might be more efficient. So I don't think you can go either wrong. I'm probably swinging Allen for me on the needle because I like the upside there. Dowdle Rico's not a bad player. I don't think you can go wrong if you keep one or the other. But if you're gonna force me, I'm probably leaning Braylon Allen just a little bit. Another question here. Scott says, should I keep the Cowboys defense? Yeah,
Nah.
I don't think so. I think you can cut them.
Stream your defense. Stream your defense.
Just stream it.
Yeah,
I agree.
especially in division where it looks like, I mean, the Eagles and the Commanders both look like pretty high-flying offenses, and the Giants haven't sucked as bad as we think they've sucked.
They have that guy. The Giants have that guy, just so we're clear. They have that guy.
Yeah, that guy, Daniel Jones. Hashtag better than Trevor
Hey,
Lawrence.
no.
Different guy.
You know who that guy is.
Different guy.
Yeah. Malik Neighbors.
Another question coming from exactly. Another question: who's your survivor picks for this week? For those that don't know what survivor picks are, you basically pick a team each week, and if you miss, you're out of the pool. So this one's tough.
To me, I've got an easy number one, but it might have already been used. I think the Niners are a lock over New England.
I agree.
I think New England is the Niners get right game, and if that doesn't work for you, if you've already used them, I also think Houston is a really good pick over the corpse of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I agree. Those two, Steve, if you haven't used them, those are great picks. I agree on those for sure.
Those are good.
James, another pick is Tolbert or Cooks worth owning?
To me, I think if we're gonna say that the Cowboys have a bad defense and they have to throw the ball to stay in game,
which one? But which one would you rather have out of those two?
I would rather have Cooks. I think I would rather have Cooks of those two.
That's fair.
I just think he has more of a rapport. He's been a better wide receiver for longer, and I don't think he's hit that age cliff yet.
I get that. That's a fair point. I think they're both rosterable just because they're going to throw the ball at least 45 times a game. I think that's just going to be their offense.
Yep, I agree. Moving forward, Steve, we're going to you got another question. Hang tight here. I kind of want to get through these games. 49ers Rams game. What an outstanding game.
What a wild game. Love that game.
Fantastic.
Shopping day.
Loved it. That guy, Stafford, is such a trooper. He sticks in there. But you know what? Purdy looked very good, too.
Yeah, my start of the week, baby. QB3.
Yep, for sure. He had 292 with 3 TDs. Mason's still going strong. 19 carries, 77 yards, no TDs. We already talked about Jennings. Just 12 targets for 175 yards, 3 TDs. Ayuk. This is why I like Ayuk. He had 10 targets, only 5 catches, but keep a sneaky eye on him. If you can go get him, I would go get him.
He did
on the cheap.
Okay. I think Chance is going to say it. I
was going to say, he led the league in separation.
Yep, 42%.
Yes. 42% separation.
Crazy.
Yep.
He'll be fine.
He'll be fine.
On the other side, we already talked about Stafford. Kyron Williams is him, right? 2 TDs in this game, 24. Did he have he also had a receiving touchdown, too. So 2 for 2. So 3 TDs for Kyron Williams. Looks good.
Man. He's a stud.
Yeah, so I know a lot of people are waiting on Blake Corum. Blake Corum's kind of tough, right? Ronnie Rivers saw 2 touches this game. Corum hasn't seen anything. I don't know if they're saving him or they just think he's not ready, but Corum, do you drop him or just leave him on your bench if you have Kyron?
If you have Kyron, I think he's a hold.
You have to hold him. If you don't, then you can drop him.
If you don't have him, I would drop him for Emmanuel Wilson at this point.
Jawan Jennings? You would drop for Jawan Jennings.
I would drop for Jawan Jennings. I think there's a lot of waiver guys that I would drop him for.
Yeah, for sure. And then Chance, your guy Tutu Atwell crushed it 4 for 93, 5 targets. So great pick on your end.
I did just love seeing Matt Stafford just be that guy, right? Like Tutu Atwell had a drop, he went right back to him. The O-line let him through for a sack. He encouraged the O-line. And Matt Stafford, Sean McVay are those dudes, man. They're just in all the games. And it doesn't matter how much I write them off. They just ball. They just ball.
Yep. Moving on to the KC Atlanta game, which we talked about, the infamous no call pass interference. But I kind of want to talk about Patrick Mahomes here a little bit. You know, he was drafted as a high QB. He really hasn't produced that well. Yeah, they're winning games. They're 3-0, but he was 217 or 26 for 39, 217, 2 TDs, 1 pick. Passer rating, you know, at a QB passer rating of 58.2. He's not worth your, like, if you are, there's other QBs I would rather have, right? He has really struggled.
I think he's streamable. Like the crazy stat about Patrick Mahomes, in the last 17 games he has played, he has only scored 20 or more fantasy points in 17% of them.
Yeah.
It's just, without Tyreek Hill, he is winning games with the help of the referees, but he's not throwing. Like, he just doesn't have the throwing. He's not as effective as a thrower without the threat that Tyreek Hill was. He's got the corpse of Travis Kelce. I mean, Rashee Rice is going to be a stud. I love Rashee Rice.
Yeah.
He is an absolute fantasy league winner, Rashee Rice, this year. But Xavier Worthy gets some touches here and there. Great real life quarterback, not a great fantasy quarterback.
Rashee Rice had half of Mahomes' passing yards.
Wow. Yeah, he's killing us. He's killing us.
Right, so he's good. Kelce 30 yards. Worthy, I told you he was just a big boomer bust guy for week 1. Everybody was on him, and he hasn't done much since. So you just have to be careful with that. I do want to talk about Carson Steele. 17 carries, 72 yards, 4.2 yards a carry, no touchdown, but seems to be okay. Can manage a rushing load. Shamaje P-Line popped in where he could, but I like Steele.
I do have one fun fact in the Carson Steele Chiefs running back conversation. The Chiefs are 22nd in the league for their red zone conversion rate so far. Like 41.6% is the red zone conversion. They've struggled in the red zone. I mean, like I said, they're ranked 22nd. There's only 10 teams worse than them in the league for how their conversions in the red zone. I think once they figure that out, and again, I think Carson Steele he didn't look out of place, right? He didn't look overwhelmed. He looked like he could run the ball and run the ball well. I don't know if that changes with Kareem Hunt being moved up. I don't know with CEH. That is, if you have Carson Steele, I'd hold him at the very least. We still just need some more info.
Yep, agreed. Moving over Cousins, I thought Cousins looked a little bit rushed. He's still a bit rusty, but you got to understand that KC defense is pretty darn good. Algier was 7 carries for 32 yards. Really outpaced Bijan, who had 16 for 31. You could clearly tell that they were game planning against Bijan. That was a very big focal point for them.
Real quick, so
go ahead,
I just want to do this quick tidbit, then we can move on to the next game. When Tyler Algier was running the ball, his lead blocker was Bijan Robinson. Bijan is a nasty run blocker. Like, if you saw that should have been touchdown to Kyle Pitts, his pass pickup against Bolton was phenomenal. The kid he's a 3-tool back. It sucks that he went 16 for 31. They were stacking the box against them. We were trying to run zone against 6-man fronts, which is really, really hard to do. So I'm not worried about Bijan at all.
Drake London got his 6 for 67, 1 touchdown. But again, we talked about this as a guy to get. Mooney 8 for 66. What a great flex play for that. So
he looks good.
Fun game to watch. Yes, infamous no call on. I agree. They probably should have been pass interference. The Monday night games. I'm not going to talk a lot about the Bills and Jaguars. Poor Jaguars lost.
Let's just talk about how Josh Allen is him.
Oh my God!
If there is a player in football right now that is him, it's Josh Allen.
And you know who's second?
Yeah.
Daniel Jones. Sorry, not Daniel Jones. Jaden Daniels. I think Jaden Daniels he's runner. He's close. I know you want it to be your boy Malik Neighbors.
Malik Neighbors is good. He's good at football.
Yeah.
Yep. There is a guy that I wouldn't mind talking about other than Kirk, but I do like Brian Robinson Jr. a lot. He's a baller. Trevor Lawrence missed him a couple times. One was an interception, overthrew him, but whatever. James Cook probably should have had a touchdown pass catch in that game. Went through his hands. Josh Allen put it right on the money. It slipped through, but Josh Allen's is him. He makes it look so easy.
Yeah.
So, and then our final game, which was the Commanders over the Bengals. A little bit shocking. I'm a little bit surprised. And here the Cincinnati Bengals 0-3 now, right? So pretty tough. Jaden Daniels looking good, 254, 2 touchdowns. Rushed the ball a little bit, had a rushing touchdown.
That
Brian Robinson and Eckler.
That ball to Terry McLaurin was disgusting.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Oh,
and you know what? I don't think Terry had but one catch in the first half. Like, I don't think he had hardly anything. All this stuff came in the second half, if I'm not mistaken. 4 catches for 100 yards and 1 touchdown. So Luke McCaffrey is a guy that we have not talked a little bit about. Keep an eye on him.
I agree.
He's moving well in that offense. So
I would say, as one of the things, my takeaways from this game with the Commanders and the Bengals is, I think both Deontay Johnson and Terry McLaurin they were wide receivers that people drafted this year that after the first 2 weeks, they said, man, that might have been a huge mistake to have these guys with questionable, a wide receiver 1 on a questionable offense or with a questionable or a rookie quarterback, maybe not the move. But I think that moving forward, if you can go acquire Deontay or Terry, I mean, it might be too late. It might be too late to do it. But I think both of them are going to be very effective. I think they're going to pay off.
Agreed. Cincinnati Bengals defense is not good, unfortunately. Joe Burrow looked good, 3 TDs, 242. All that was almost all to Jamar Chase. Had 6 receptions, 118, 2 touchdowns. Another sneaky guy I forget I can't even say his name. Is Andre
Yoshivas.
Yoshivas.
No,
okay,
stop.
There you go.
Andre Yoshivas, who is Japanese and Romanian, went to Princeton. He was a track star at Princeton. They called him the Romanian runner. Love that guy.
Nice. He had just as many targets as Jamar Chase and did have a touchdown. So keep an eye on him. And we already talked about Chase Brown and Zach Moss. So that is our review in those games. Man, we got a lot of questions I want to cover. So this is really good, man. I appreciate all your guys' input and asking questions. But we wanted to touch base with those games and let Livy give you a preview or a post view of what we thought of those games. Going back to Steve. So Steve MC said right here, Hurts or Daniels full PPR?
I lean Daniels. I think over these games, Daniels looks more explosive than Jalen Hurts does. I mean, it's like Lineberry said. He said, is Jalen Hurts good at football? Like, it almost feels like Jalen Hurts might not be as good at football as we thought he was. To me, I think that's Jaden Daniels.
I think there's something wrong with that relationship between him and Nick Sirianni. It's going to come to a head eventually. Like, there's something completely wrong. So the Eagles play the Bucks, and then the Commanders play the Cardinals. So, like, if it was a this week thing, I would go with Jaden Daniels this week.
Yeah. Steve, I just want to ask you, what grandma league are you playing in that you have Hurts and Daniels? How did you get both of these guys? Is this a tough? How'd you get both of these guys?
He's a quarterback order, dude. He's just drafting quarterbacks to trade them. He's that guy. It's probably weak to me for me, but right now I do like Daniels and what they're doing over there a little bit. So especially if they can get Scary Terry involved, it's been good to see this last week. Steve has another question here, actually a comment and question. If your daughter beats you in fantasy football in her first year of playing, are you still obligated to give her a gift at Christmas?
Yes, you are not only obligated, but that's a 25 to 30% increase in her gift.
Oh, absolutely.
For her to show up and beat you like that, you got to treat her. You got to treat her.
You got to be proud.
Unless you can beat her the second time and then you say no gifts for you. Double or nothing your next game with her.
Nice.
Final question. Scott here says basically a statement says he will still lose to Mahomes in the playoffs.
Oh my God.
That was Josh Allen.
Sure hey, I just
Josh Allen.
Shout out. Scott is my oldest friend in the entire world. Scott has been my best friend forever. Scott has always been a diehard Chiefs fan since I knew him. His family moved here from the Midwest, and I remember beautiful fall Sundays watching. I remember watching the game with Dante. Was it Dante Hall?
The human joystick, maybe.
The human joystick. I remember watching that game with my best buddy Scott. We would always watch home and away games, Broncos Chiefs, at each other's house. So it's tough for me that he has Patrick Mahomes now. After I've hated it, he's the reason why I've hated the Chiefs so deeply.
You got Vanilla Vic though. I got
Vanilla Vic, baby.
And yeah, if you guys have we'll have a start sit tomorrow. We're gonna go over that stuff. But if you guys have questions now, we're happy to stay online a little bit and talk about it. But if not, we're gonna sail off. But there is some good stuff coming up. There's some good games coming up, and we'll talk about those games tomorrow. We're pretty excited about tomorrow's episode. Your sit starts, and we're gonna have all that info for you. But yeah, if you have not already, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment, man. Let us know what you think. We got another question here already.
It's just Scotty sharing the love. I love you too, big guy.
Sharing the love. And that's what we're all about, man. Sharing the love. So, but be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment down below. Again, we are all about helping you win your fantasy leagues, giving you an opportunity to have the, how do I want to put it? The golden cup of truth to I don't know. I'm trying to think of what I'm saying here. The golden cup of truth to
Matt's just like dragging this
SmackDown.
Matt's dragging this podcast out to get some more questions. So while I'm over here, I don't know what's burning in my kitchen right now, but something is.
Nice.
So, all right. So Steve says, thanks, gents. Steve, thanks for hanging with us. I guess we'll wrap it up. It's so much fun hanging with you guys. We're about an hour and 15 minutes in. We'll be back tomorrow. So join us tomorrow, probably around 7:30. We'll get something out there. Hang with us. We want you to win your fantasy football leagues. Any last words, Chance, before you burn dinner?
Man, I got a couple of guys that are popping in from my league of record on here, which Lineberry is a new addition to that league to replace a guy. And I feel
I'm already getting crap in that league. Like, what is going on?
It's that league. We're that league. Okay. But I feel so bad because I told them that to come watch his podcast, but I'm 0-3 in that league. So it's like I'm at the bottom of the barrel. I am so far from panic. I'll take 0-3. I'll still come back. I got no worries.
Justin, any final words?
It was a pass interference in the end zone. We should have got the one.
Yep.
That's all I got.
Fair enough. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you tomorrow. Same time, same bat channel. Welcome to 208. See you tomorrow.